Happy Friday, everyone. Coming up tonight on Business Life, IMF board expected to conclude Ghana review today and approve the release of $360 million for the country. What's going to be the impact of this review on the larger economy? We will hear the thoughts of economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie.
The currency stabilizes. I think that it will control inflation. Is the reason Bank of Ghana has projected that the end of year inflation will be between 13 and 17%.
Coming up in this bulletin as well, Ghana's credit worthiness could be reviewed in the coming months following a deal with bilateral creditors.
Our efforts at maybe reducing our debt burden. So these three factors, they are all going in the positive direction. So I expect the rating agencies to come back with a revised rating and of course positive rating.
Plus, banks in Ghana remain in a solid position despite challenging economic environment. We'll hear from Fitch Solutions. We have details of these and many more arranged for you. Please stay. Thanks so much. I am Pius Kojo Baka. We can now take a look at our stories. And tonight, the IMF board is set to pass Ghana on the second review program under the IMF and the release of the $360 million to the country. Now, this will happen after the board concludes its meeting on Ghana later today. George Yafe tells us more.
Board meeting documents picked up by Joy Business shows that Ghana has been able to meet those targets to pass the country. One can talk about the financing assurance from the bilateral creditors and the agreement in principle from the Eurobond holders when it comes to restructuring the $13.1 billion debt. Ghana has also made some significant progress when it comes to those quantitative and qualitative targets under the fund program, where in some cases it has overperformed. When the approval is secured today, maybe latest by July 3, 2024, the $360 million should hit Bank of Ghana's account. But for those who have followed Ghana's program with the IMF, it is not just about the amount coming in. This could trigger other donors to release frozen funds to the country and the resumption of stored project finance by these bilateral creditors in the country.
So what will be the impact on the larger economy after Ghana secures the second review? Let's hear the thoughts of economist Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie.
Is the city stability. We know businesses are really affected, and you and I, when we go to the market to buy, even the cocoa seller will say that, hey, I want to sell $1 or so, and increase the price of cocoa. So when the currency stabilizes, I think that it will control inflation. Is the reason Bank of Ghana has projected that the end of year inflation will be between 13 and 17% because of the expected relative stability of the currency. So we expect the currency to stabilize and also help fight against inflation. And then we will have the release of the tranche. Government already have their plans in terms of agriculture, releasing the funds to the investment in agriculture, investment in the youth programs. We know government has a youth start where they want to support entrepreneurs who want to come out with their own businesses. So all these plans are there for the government, and I'm sure, like you said, it's likely they will release the third tranche, and this will go into the various programs that the government has outlined, and ensure going forward things will be better. The IMF has projected that we may return to the pre-COVID, achievements in terms of inflation, interest rates, stability of the city, economic growth, somewhere, ending of 2025, getting into 2026. So the path of recovery is okay. The economy is still recovering. But I think what we are all concerned now is the cost of living, the prices of items, and also the cost of borrowing.
And it is important we bring you the very latest in relation to this. And my colleague George Yafe joins me in studio to help us understand what more we are learning in relation to the review. George, thanks so much for joining me. So far, what have we gathered so far?
So far, what we are gathering is that the meeting is yet to begin. I mean, looking at somewhere later in the evening, there was another country that the board was going to look at that country before they come to Ghana. And again, what is informing this projection analysis about we passing? A lot of things happened before the actual board meeting date.
Okay.
I mean, I said earlier this week, the statements and all the way were being put together. Even as earlier this week, there were even talks about the joint press conference that could happen between the Ministry of Finance and the IMF as well. And all those things have been done with respect to the statement and all those things. And this is what we've seen, emails moving around about the program, the questions and all the rest. That shows that the board is going to approve Ghana with respect to how we fared under the fund program. Because again, as I explained earlier on in the report, the critical thing that the board was looking for, we have met them. What we're looking at right now is that what would they say about the threat to the program? And when it comes to our debt situation, how far have we progressed? You know, there's a new debt sustainability analysis report that has been put together that showed that the economy is expanding, the outlook is good. But again, what could be the threat to the program? Is it going to be the election year? Sometimes there are earlier statements that are put together, but for diplomatic purposes, you know, they are reworked on and all those things are going on right now. And unless anything happens the last minute,
which is impossible,
which is not from what has transpired in the previous days leading to this board meeting, Ghana is going to. But what will you be looking out for right now is that even before the approvals, all those network with respect to the banking and transfer has also been done already. So if the board then formally approves, because before this date, the board members have actually gone through Ghana's program already. So when the approval is done just today, the authorization is given for the transfer to be done, and all other things being equal, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, that money should hit Bank of Ghana's account. But also, you want to hear from the board what could be the threat to Ghana's program and how committed Ghana is to the program. When the minister, and I know that there was supposed to be a monthly update meeting with the Minister of Finance, whether it will happen tomorrow or happen on Monday, there's a flyer out and all those things. Further updates to be given by the Minister of Finance in terms of government's commitment to the program and how that would also influence other donor partners, because World Bank's support to Ghana will be dependent on what the board is going to say. And even other countries like Germany and all the rest that are also going to come on board to support us. And so you look at how this will trigger other donor funding and how that could also impact on the performance of the Ghana city going forward. So the program, Ghana has passed the second review, the disbursement is going to come, but these key things about the outlook for the program and the threats, what we will be looking out for.
Very well. Thank you so much, George, and for helping us understand the very latest in relation to this. And of course, keep an eye on that and keep us posted in our subsequent bulletins, George. Thanks so much. Now, Ghana's credit worthiness could be reviewed in the coming months to favorable status. That's the view of the partner at accounting firm Deloitte Yao Latte. Now, Ghana has been pushed into junk status by these rating agencies due to its rising debt stock and challenges in managing the economy. But Mr. Latte argued that the country has addressed all their concerns.
Look at the 4 or 5 key drivers of the downgrades that we went through in the last couple of years. So the first one was our low revenue base. We had significant low revenue base. We had our rising debt levels. We had slowdown in fiscal consolidation and a widening budget deficit. These were the 3 or 4 factors that caused the downgrade. Now you ask yourself the first one, the low revenue base. We've made some attempts to increase our revenue, particularly enforcement of tax laws. Largely, we've made some achievement, we've made some gains, but obviously not sufficient, or it's not gotten to the point where we would have loved it to be. And Doc mentioned about 2.5% as your tax revenue should be growing again. I don't think even our tax efforts compared to our peers who are at 18%, we are about 13, 14%. So it means that tax to GDP ratio is still low. So there's still some effort, but I think we've made some progress. So that should result in some kind of positive grade from this rating, positive rating for the rating agencies. The second one is the slowdown in fiscal consolidation. The IMF program came in on time, and I think that has helped us because our budget deficit was widening. COVID, we hit all the way to 13%. And if you have a fiscal responsibility out of 5% as a benchmark and you are 13%, you are over and above what you're expected to do. So that slowdown in budget deficits also has helped. And then the last one I would say we are efforts at maybe reducing our debt burden. So these three factors, they are all going in the positive direction. So I expect the rating agencies to come back with revised rating and, of course, positive rating.
Let's shift our focus to the banking sector now, because banks in Ghana remain in a solid position despite Ghana's challenging economic environment and the ongoing efforts of the domestic debt exchange program. This is a disclosure from Fitch Solutions in its new report on Ghana debt. Ghana's new CRRs to have muted impact on loan growth and weigh on profits. More in this report.
According to the London-based firm, the banking sector has reported strong growth in balance sheet items despite unfavorable conditions. It added that capital levels, which had fallen close to the minimum requirement, are beginning to improve again and banks are recording robust profit. However, it explained that the recently introduced linking of banks' cash reserve ratio requirement to their loan-to-deposit ratio will have several unfavorable consequences. On March 25, 2024, the Bank of Ghana introduced a new regime aiming to boost lending and reduce excess local currency liquidity to control inflation. While it believes this will compel some banks to extend more credit, very poor loan quality will keep lending too risky for others who will instead prefer to hold high CD cash reserves at the central bank. Furthermore, Fitch Solutions said this new regime will support loan growth for some banks.
More within the banking space, Chartered Bank has recorded a cumulative profit, of 1.36 billion cedis compared to a loss of 381 million cedis in 2022. Speaking at the bank's 55th annual general meeting in Accra, Chief Executive of the bank, Mansa Neti, emphasized that the result is a proof of the company's sustainable recovery. More in this report.
Standard Chartered Bank Ghana PLC convened its 54th annual general meeting at the bank's head office in Accra. The meeting provided shareholders with a comprehensive review of the bank's operations for the year ending on 31st December 2023. The board chairman addressed the AGM, highlighting several significant milestones achieved over the past year.
In Ghana, economic growth slowed down in 2023 due to the effects of severe economic crisis we all experienced in 2022. Against this backdrop, I am pleased to announce that the various strategic actions we initiated to improve the resilience of our business to external shocks, such as tightening our risk and control measures, have positively impacted on our results. We delivered 42% year-on-year growth in operating income. Our return on equity rose to 45% from the negative 22% recorded in the year 2022. Not only are we delivering good returns, your bank is also very robust, with capital adequacy ratio of 27.7%, well above the regulatory requirement of 10%.
The Chief Executive and Managing Director, Mansa Neti, emphasized the bank's resilience following the domestic debt exchange program.
Operating cost was at 582 million. That is a 33% hike over the previous year. While we took a huge impairment charge of 1.16 billion in 2022 as a result of the debt exchange program, we had a release of 220 million in 2023. This culminated in a profit before tax of 1.36 billion compared to the loss of, if you recall, 381 million in 2022. We believe these results signal the beginning of a sustainable recovery.
The bank reported a notable 32% increase in income from affluent clients. Additionally, 95% of new clients were onboarded through digital channels. Standard Chartered Bank Ghana PLC has received prior approval from the central bank to distribute dividends to its shareholders.
You're still watching Business Live. We are back with more. Please stay. Hello, welcome back to Business Live. Now, the Chief of Staff at the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Silva Ojako, has urged the continent's diplomats, business leaders and academia to unite, exchange ideas, share practices and chart innovative courses towards a more integrated, prosperous and inclusive Africa. He argues that leveraging diplomacy as a tool can accelerate the implementation of the One African Market agenda. He was speaking at the launch of the first ever African Diplomacy and Business Dialogue here in Accra. More in the following reports.
The first African Diplomacy and Business Dialogue will be held in Accra, Ghana in May 2025 under the theme Harmonizing African Diplomacy for the Success of the AfCFTA. Organized by Salt University College, the event aims to bring together the continent's top diplomats, academia, and business leaders to share ideas and fast-track the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Speaking at the launch, President of Salt University College, Ambassador Dr. Kojo Alabo, emphasized the urgent need for alignment, coordination, and synergy between diplomacy and political will to realize the One African Market objective. He highlighted some key objectives of the inaugural dialogue.
The significance of this African diplomacy and business dialogue can therefore not be overstated. It represents a platform where African diplomats, business leaders, and academia converge to exchange ideas, share best practices, and chart an innovative course towards a more integrated, prosperous, and inclusive Africa. The strategic objectives that the dialogue seeks to achieve are as follows. 1. Stimulate contemporary research, trade, and diplomacy-focused discussions among stakeholders. 2. Galvanize the diplomatic community of current and former envoys into a strategic bulwark against the erection of new barriers and the breaking down of existing barriers to intra-African trade, while advancing the attainment of AfCFTA's objectives.
Chief of Staff at the AfCFTA Secretariat, Silva Ojako, commended Salt University College for championing the dialogue, stating it will help tighten diplomacy on the continent and accelerate the successful implementation of the AfCFTA.
We launched the Guided Trade Initiative in October 2022 with only 8 countries. Ghana was one of them: Ghana, Cameroon, Egypt, Rwanda, Tunisia, Kenya. Today we have received requests for interest by 39 other countries. What is the Guided Trade Initiative? We just wanted to demonstrate that we can now trade under AfCFTA preferences using our own instruments, certificate of origin, e-tariff book, and so on. By harmonizing African diplomacy and leveraging the collective strength of our nations, the Africa Diplomacy Dialogue, business dialogue is expected to strengthen diplomatic ties and partnerships that support trade and economic integration and development in our continent. And this will accelerate the successful implementation of the AfCFTA, bringing us closer.
The inaugural dialogue aims to set the stage for an annual event where diplomacy will be championed as a dependable alternative to deliver solutions to African challenges. For Joy News, Carlos Caloni, Accra.
Now, Chief Executive Officer of African Energy Consortium Limited, Kwame Jantuah, is making a strong case for companies within Ghana's energy sector to expand investments in local content. He said these companies can invest primarily in skill training, initiatives for young people across the country to ensure sustainability within the sector. He was speaking at the launch of the 2024 Ghana Energy Awards.
The energy sector is fundamental to the development of our country and holds the key to powering our nation's progress. But this progress must be sustainable, must be efficient, and effective, promoting not just energy security, but also the development of our people and industries. Participation in every facet of our energy sector is crucial. Local content policies and initiatives are not just about economic growth. They are about building resilience, fostering innovation, and ensuring that the benefits of our natural resources are handled and enjoyed by Ghanaians. I urge all sector players to heed this call by actively participating in the nomination process. Your involvement is essential in recognizing and celebrating the achievements of those who are making significant contributions to our energy sector. By commending these successes, we inspire the youth and citizens to understand the sector better.
With the emergence of electric cars and bikes in Ghana, some experts are calling on key stakeholders to explore various untapped opportunities within the e-mobility space. According to Bold Food Country Manager Ali Zarab, Ghana can benefit from an alternative transport to reduce the growing burden of fossil fuel dependency and expensive subsidies if proper research is done. He spoke to Joy Business at the Bold Accelerator Program Awards.
Yes, so electric mobility is one of our key focuses. I look after food. I can tell you we are working with already a couple of partners as well who are already in the EV industry. So there is a lot of potential. There is a lot of, I would say, untapped area market potential which is there. But to make it work, to make it sustainable for the drivers, couriers, I would say, that's something that we have been working on, so that the more orders they're able to deliver. It's because in EV business, you have to buy a bike or you're renting a bike for a certain period of time while you're paying off the bike and you're saving on the fuel expense. So that is something that is one of our key focuses.
And that's it for Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Because for all you know, we've got to make way for the Beyond the Numbers. And my colleagues are in the studio to break it all down for us. Isaac Ofieji and Winston Taki with Beyond the Numbers today. Guys, thanks for joining me in studio. And last week was a cracker,
yeah,
I must say.
Of course. I mean, last week's issue has got a lot of people speaking. I mean,
the Bank of Ghana themselves.
Absolutely. They have actually come out with a statement. We understand that Dr. Tuahin has also given them 21 days to also correct what he calls the mistakes between what Bank of Ghana is reporting.
Absolutely.
And then what
Bank has reported. So we also got a report from World Bank releasing its data, assessing Ghana, specifically Ghana as well.
So what happens after 21 days?
It's waiting for us to see.
Yeah, Doc says he will release more data, so we are hoping to see what will happen. But the most important thing is getting the best for the country. I mean, there needs to be systems to track all the remittances. If indeed Bank of Ghana says that all the fintechs have partner banks, then we should see it reflect in their annual report.
And you'll be talking about external?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Certainly. Do stay on.